Welcome Diecast fans, I'm Tom Spanners Watson.
And I'm Frank the Euro Gibbs.
And welcome to the brand new Possum Hills Rallycross course.
Yeah, Spanners, she's a beast of a track. Let's take a closer look. So it starts at Granny's Muffins and it really goes downhill from there as we head into the first jump and crossover section of the track. That takes us down to checkpoint number 1. That is right at the start of the Devil's Staircase and the Devil's Drop.
So staircase on the outside, drop on the inside, and that drop lane does take a jump before they head into the second crossover section. That takes us down to the start of highway number 1 and checkpoint number 2.
And this is the first area where all 4 cars are in this same lane. They run down that big straight till they get onto the Forestry Road, which is a narrow 1-lane twisty turny section, takes them all the way around the forestry and down to checkpoint number 3.
And this takes us into the fastest section on the track and the most dangerous as they climb the straight hill with some bumps in it. That takes them up to Tuck and Roll Corner and down to checkpoint number 4.
From here, the cars get split into 2 lanes as they go through the switcher, and the inside lane here is the Joker lane where the drivers will pick up an extra point if they take the Joker lane. The other lane is a little bit shorter and that gives them a chance to catch up by checkpoint number 5 there as we hit the merger.
The track now opens up again as we hit the roadway, past the old cathedral, over the old bridge and down to checkpoint number 6 by the diner.
Then it's into the final left-hander as they race alongside the river down to the finish line.
Race points are 6 for first, 4 for second, 2 for third and 1 for fourth.
You get a point for every checkpoint you pass, plus a bonus for the Joker lane.
The cars went through scrutineering earlier, let's take a look at who's driving.
First up, it's me old mate Rubber Toe driving the 98 Subaru Impreza 22B STI, weighing in at 50 grams.
Next up, from NZ Racing, we've got Magnus Magnussen driving the Volvo 850 Estate, that weighed in at 44 grams.
Now we've got Jezza driving another Subaru, but this one is a super lightweight at only 34 grams, and it'll be interesting to see how it goes against Rubber Toe.
And then finally in this first group, we've got Horthen Sung driving the 84 Audi Sport Quattro, weighing in at 48 grams.
And on towing duties today, we've got NZ Towing. Shout out to those boys, and to today's driver, Rex McCarr.
Just a reminder, this is quite a different race to anything we've done before. You get a point for every checkpoint you passed, whether you cross the finish line or not. If you cross the finish line, you get those extra points. But here we go, race number 1, the drivers lined up, Rubber Toe in pole position, lane number 1, Magnussen in lane 2, Horthen Sung in 3, and finally Jezza in lane 4. The light goes green, here we go. We're racing this time. Clean start for everyone out of the gate. Magnus Magnussen and Rubber Toe out to an early lead, but here comes Jezza. The 2 Subarus chasing down the Volvo in the lead. Magnussen out to a solid lead so far, but Rubber Toe wheeling him back in by the look of it. They close up through the forestry section, Rubber Toe handling those curves very nicely. Magnussen underway, gets up the top of the hill with a handbrake slide into the switcher for the first time, and it looks like Jezza and Magnus both went through the Joker lane. Rubber Toe now trying to reel Magnussen back in. Magnussen keeping the throttle pinned as they head into the final straight, bumper to bumper, and Magnussen will take the first race and picks up maximum points of 13. Rubber Toe in second place with 10 points, and here comes Jezza as he crosses the line in third place. And we've lost Horthen Sung down Highway 1.
Let's go back through the Granny's Muffins replay and see what happened. So it was a pretty clean start from all drivers here. Magnussen out with the early lead and Rubber Toe hot on his heels. And then the 2 on the inside, you see Horthen Sung stopping at the top of the Devil's Drop there. Obviously a little bit nervous because you can't see anything over your bonnet. It just looks like you're falling into nothing. And look at him get up onto 2 wheels there.
Well, that drop didn't seem to worry Jezza at all. He just ripped on through.
And Horthen Sung a long way behind everybody else. And then as he goes down State Highway 1, you see him just lose it sideways and stops.
Yeah, that was definitely disappointing for Horthen Sung. But how about this move here from Magnus Magnussen?
There was a marvellous bit of manoeuvring there from Magnus Magnussen heading up the mountain.
Let's just have another look at that. That was so cool.
I've got to say, that guy's got some big ones. Look at this. He just cranks the handbrake and goes sideways into that corner. He's certainly not afraid to leave it all on the track.
And a smart move from Jezza there to hold back and just head through the Joker lane to pick up the extra point. Now, the first column of points, that is their race position. The second column is their checkpoints that they've passed. And of course, Magnussen and Jezza both pick up a bonus point and get the 7 points because they both took the Joker lane. And Magnussen lays down the best time, a 35.0720.
The drivers have rotated lanes, and now we've got Magnus Magnussen starting in lane number 1 as we get underway for race number 2.
It looks like Jezza's got the jump on the crowd early, but Magnussen Magnussen into the lead with Hawthorne Sun pushing him hard. Oh no, Magnussen's gone down. Hawthorne Sun gets caught up, and it's the two Subarus in the outside lane. And look at Roberto here, tries to get up the outside. Not quite able to pull off the overtake as they head into the single lane section. Jezza leading out, but I think that might have shaken Jezza's nerves there. Roberto really pushed him hard, and over he goes. Jezza is down, Roberto plows into him. They head into the switcher and just touch into the Joker lane. Unfortunate for Roberto, he wasn't quite able to clear that obstruction, and unfortunately Magnussen went over, and that blocked the track for Hawthorne Sun, and he wasn't able to carry on. As we look at the Granny's Muffins replay, again, Jezza was out pretty quick here, but Magnussen has obviously got something special in that Volvo as he cranked out the speed here, got ahead of Hawthorne Sun, and I don't know what happened, but he just overcooked it and gets flipped up on his side. Hawthorne Sun not able to push past, but how about this race between the two Subarus? This was awesome. Look at Roberto doing everything he can to push up the inside. Jezza did a great job to control the car as long as he did, and unfortunately his nerves were obviously a bit shaken and he just lost it going up the hill. There are some critical bumps here with drivers have to really pay attention. But because both drivers did get into the Joker lane, they will pick up the bonus point there. So Roberto leading the way on 15 now, Magnussen 14, and also Jezza on 14. And even though Hawthorne Sun is a long way behind at the moment, keep in mind there is a maximum of 13 points every race, so he's still in with a chance. The drivers rotate around and we've got Hawthorne Sun in pole position this time. Can he make the most of it and get into some clear space and make it to the finish line? We get underway. And it's Jezza out early here, but he was obviously giving it too much channel as he flipped over and holds up Hawthorne Sun again. And Magnussen now chasing down Roberto as they head into the forestry section. Roberto with a slight lead, Magnussen doing everything he can to catch up. Roberto lines up for the fastest section and up he goes into the Joker lane, picks up the extra point, and I'm not sure what's happened to Magnussen. He seems to have dropped off. This is all Roberto's race now as he heads down past the diner into checkpoint 6 and down the final straight along the side of the river, and he will take the win. It doesn't look like anyone else is going to join Roberto at the finish line. Let's have a look around the track. Oh, Magnus is stuck in tuck and roll corner. How in the heck did he end up there? And then a sad story for Hawthorne Sun again, caught behind another driver. Well, let's take a look at the Granny's Muffins replay and see just what happened there. It was a pretty even start. Magnus was a little bit behind everybody else there, and Jezza giving it the beans over that jump, bounces the front of his car, and he just seemed to have kangaroo petrol in there or something, because look at this, he goes sideways and gets a bit of a bounce going down the devil's staircase, bounces up, and then Hawthorne Sun slams into the side of him and flips him over. Maybe being so lightweight wasn't the best move. He should have had a little bit more on the front there. And then as we watch Roberto go through tuck and roll corner and we wait for Magnus, look at that, he just slides all the way up and jams himself into the corner. And with what happened in practice to Magnus there, I think we need to rename that hill Magnus Mountain. But a superb drive from Roberto there, maximum points and a best time of 33.8660 secures his spot in the next race. And the big question is, who's going to join him as the top two drivers move through to the next round? As we've seen, a lot can happen on this track, and with 13 points up for grabs, it's anybody's race. We got Jezza starting in pole position. Magnus gets the jump out of the gate, but it's Jezza who takes the lead down the devil's staircase, and he goes down again. Roberto luckily able to get past him. Magnussen now chasing down Roberto. Hawthorne Sun finally making a move and getting further than he ever has before. What a battle here between Magnussen and Roberto, and even Hawthorne Sun joining the party. Roberto leads them up Magnus Mountain, keeps it nice and clean through tuck and roll corner, Magnussen through, and Hawthorne Sun into the Joker lane. Magnussen now chasing down Roberto, he's right up on his bumper again. These boys are putting on such a good show. Magnussen trying to draft in behind Roberto as they head alongside the river, and Roberto holds on for the win. And what's happened to Hawthorne Sun? There he is, finally crosses the line. It was the closest race yet, but what a drive from Roberto. And Jezza, I've got to hand it to him, he didn't hold back at all. Check this out as he comes down the devil's staircase again. He's going sideways, but he doesn't lift off the throttle. But unfortunately, that's not actually how you win a race. You do have to drive a bit sensibly, and he paid the price. It's not like you to talk about being sensible when driving a car, Frank. Not normally, no. But with a course as challenging as Possum Hills, you've really got to up your game as a driver, or you're just going to end up as a wreck. And if you want to see a spectacular wreck, make sure you hang out to the end of the video and see what happened to Magnus Magnussen during the practice session. Certainly one of the biggest accidents we've ever had. But how about this switcher and Joker lane section? It worked perfectly all race.
and it's good to see the drivers going through both lanes.
I think we're going to see some great action there as they hit that merger. That non-joker lane is just a little bit shorter, and it takes away any advantage the first car up the hill has.
Well, luckily for Rubber Toe, he had enough of a lead there that he managed to hold on to it all the way to the end. And what a fantastic run there. Another win and another maximum points for a total of 41 points for Rubber Toe, and he set the fastest time of the track so far, and he'll be joined by Magnus Magnussen in the next round. And what a spectacular driver he's turning out to be.
Well, he's got to be good. He's already had part of the track named after him. All right, we'll be right back for group number 2 after this short break. So there's been plenty of action with group number 1. I'm sure group number 2 won't be any different. Let's take a look at who's driving. First up, we got Funk Flagger driving the 84 Audi Sport Quattro, weighing in at 38 grams.
I do love that paint job, it's very impressive. Then we've got Meow Max driving the 85 Honda CRX, weighing in at 36 grams. An interesting combination of short wheelbase and a light car. I'm not sure how he'll do.
Then we've got an old-time Canyon regular, Mr. Dark, driving the Lancia Delta Integrale. That weighs in at 43 grams.
This group do seem to be favouring the shorter wheelbase cars. And finally, from NZ Racing, we got Tiny Mike driving the Mini Cooper S Challenge, weighing in at a whopping 45 grams.
Well, another short wheelbase car and a fairly high centre of gravity. I'm not sure that was the smartest move, but let's see how they go as we get underway with group number 2.
Carnage, mate. I'm expecting carnage.
We talked about this, Frank. It's chaos, remember? All right, we get underway. Race number 1. Funk and Meow Max out with a big lead over the others. Meow Max pushed into the wall or tried to cut off Funk. I'm not sure quite what happened there, but Funk now bouncing down State Highway 1 as he makes it into the forestry section. Slowing down a little bit. Doesn't look like there's anybody else with him. He's got a clean run all the way to the finish. All he has to do is keep it together as he heads up Magnus Mountain, gets a little bit of a wheel stand on the look of it, gets into the Joker lane, down to the merger, around the back of the old cathedral, over the bridge, and he's just taking his time, but he gives it too much gas in the corner before the diner, and he spins out, and he's going to stop short of checkpoint 6.
Speaking of stopping short, Tiny Mike didn't even make checkpoint 1. What the heck is going on? And then we got Mr. Dark on his roof and Meow Max parked up on the side. We need to go back through the Granny's Muffins replay and have a look. So keep your eye on Tiny Mike there. The yellow Mini gets around, he's looking okay, but then he starts to slow right down. And then you've got Funk and Max out in the lead, a huge lead over everybody else. In fact, they're almost at the bottom of the staircase. Mr. Dark's parked up a lot like Hawley and Sung did in his race. Meow Max got slammed into the wall by the look of it, and that was enough for him.
And Mr. Dark really thinking about whether he wanted to take the Devil's Drop or not.
I definitely don't think he wanted to do it, mate, but he eventually did, and unfortunately for him, he just went sideways into the barrier, and that flipped him over on his lid. So a disappointing start from this group, nobody crossing the finish line. Funk picks up 6 points, even though he stopped short of the 6th checkpoint. He did go through the Joker lane, so he gets that bonus point. But Tiny Mike, a 0-0, I didn't think that could possibly happen on this course.
Well, there's still 3 races left and plenty of points on the board, so any driver here has the chance to move on through. Let's hope they can do a bit better this time as we get underway. Meow Max a little bit slower out of the gate, but he evens up with Mr. Dark. Funk well out in front of everybody else here. Is he going to be joined by anybody else, or have they all stalled out or crashed again? Funk slowing down, and I hear another car. Here comes Meow Max. Gets a drift on as he pulls right up onto the bumper of Funk here as they enter the forestry section. Down to checkpoint number 3. Funk opens up a bit of a lead again, but he absolutely cooks it going up Magnus Mountain, flips over. Meow Max pushes them both to checkpoint 4, but that's the end of their race. And what happened to Mr. Dark and Tiny Mike again?
Good grief. Mr. Dark obviously scared off the Devil's Drop, and Tiny Mike again doesn't make checkpoint 1. That's ridiculous. And hang on, he was facing backwards. Let's go through this replay. Tiny Mike over the jump, and then handbrake slides into a 180. What is he doing? It's not a stunt show, this is Rallycross.
I'm not sure that Tiny Mike was paying attention during the driver's briefing, but Mr. Dark obviously scared off the Devil's Drop, but he's going to have to get going if he wants to move through to the next round. Funk managing to keep it together, and then you see the CRX of Meow Max here. Comes down, takes the drop, makes it cleanly over, and gets a nice slide there. and then he fed it some jandle to head down State Highway 1 and caught up with Funk. And look at that nice little drift there as they entered the forestry section. Unfortunately, there was no way around Funk before they hit Magnus Mountain, and with Funk flipping over, that was everybody's race done.
I said it before, Magnus Mountain is not to be trifled with. It's an incredibly high-speed section, but there are some dips and bumps there, and if you're not paying attention, you will get flipped over. And it's just unfortunate for Meow Max. He didn't have the muscle to push on through. Maybe if he was a bit heavier or a bit bigger, he might have done it. But the judges gave both drivers the 4 points for the checkpoint pass because they were connected as they were parked up there.
So with that, Funk holds on to the lead with 10 points, followed by Meow Max on 5, Mr. Dark on 2, and Tiny Mike, I don't know what he's doing. He's stuck on 0. Can he get any points before this is over?
Can I just say, if he gets downtrod, I don't want to see it.
Mr. Dark quickest off the start here. Tiny Mike chasing him down, but Mr. Dark out to a big lead, and Tiny Mike goes down again, but at least he passed the checkpoint this time. Mr. Dark goes sideways, allowing Meow Max to go right on past him.
I'm not sure what's happened to Funk, whether he's crashed out or whether he's just a bit slow.
Meow Max now out by himself. I'm not sure if Mr. Dark has managed to get himself going again. Disappointing there as he goes past checkpoint 3. Oh, he flips over going up Magnus Mountain.
Oh,
Meow Max
no,
struggling
Max.
there. And here comes Mr. Dark. He got himself going. Whoa!
Crikey.
And he decides to pull into the trees instead of hitting Meow Max.
So much chaos in this one. I can't believe that Mr. Dark was so nice. He didn't want to run into Meow Max, but he decided he would just pull into the trees instead. Very gentlemanly. And we got Funk parked up under the second crossover and Tiny Mike on his side. At least he's got past the checkpoint though, and he will pick up a point.
As we go back through the replay, we see here all drivers keeping it clean from the start. A nice jump from Mr. Dark. He gets a bit bouncy, but kept it together and took a great lead as they hit the Devil's Staircase. And unfortunately, he just lost it a little bit after that. But Tiny Mike and the big yellow Mini there, just getting it loose coming down the Devil's Staircase and flips on his side. This is really a problem with short wheelbase cars. If you compare this to the first group, when those slightly longer wheelbase cars, they did a lot better. And then Mr. Dark just losing it there as he hit Highway 1.
And speaking of losing it, Meow Max here just gets a bit sideways going up the hill, hits the second bump, all kinds of wrong, and that was enough to flip him over. And then Mr. Dark, being a gentleman, decided not to smash into him and just pull into the tree section.
Was he being a gentleman, or was it that he was going up backwards because he couldn't see where he was going?
It's a brave man that goes up Magnus Mountain backwards. Crikey, people have enough trouble going up front ways. Again, no one crossing the finish line yet, but Funk holds on to the lead with 11, Meow Max on 8, Mr. Dark on 5, and finally Tiny Mike picks up 1 point.
I must say a Mini would not be my first choice of rally car, but Mr. Dark now in pole position as we head to the final race. Is he going to be able to pick up enough points in this race to move on to the next round, or is it going to be the end of his racing?
I have confidence in him.
And down goes Tiny Mike in the first corner. He cannot keep it together. Meow Max and Mr. Dark now pushing hard. Meow Max gets spun around and it looked like Funk's Flagger might have crashed as he went over the Devil's Drop.
What a battle between these two. Max not backing down even though he's going in reverse, and Mr. Dark showing no mercy, although they've got to be concerned about how this played out the last time they were here.
Max heads up Magnus Mountain, keeps it together into the Joker lane, and here goes Mr. Dark. He's racing to go past him. Is he going to make it? He does. He just slips by him at the merger. Mr. Dark into the lead. Can he keep it together? Round past checkpoint 6, he goes sideways, gets him to reverse, but he will cross the finish line, and it looks like Meow Max might have spun out.
Looks like Max spun out just ahead of checkpoint 6, and I can't believe Tiny Mike flipped over in the first corner. Nobody's done that before.
And where did Funk end up?
He did actually crash by the look of it. He's parked up under the second crossover. So let's just go back through the replay and have a look at that. Keep your eye on Tiny Mike here. He's just trying to give it the beans. In a top heavy car, you just can't do that, and he flips right over. Very disappointing for him. But what a battle between Meow Max and Mr. Dark. Meow Max with the lead into the Devil's Staircase, and both drivers keeping it tidy. Funk comes down. I'm not sure what happened to him because the camera was a little bit ahead of him, but he takes the jump, gets sideways, and then he just bounces up. Oh, he hit the camera tower as well.
And Mr. Dark putting the pressure on Meow Max there, forcing him to spin around.
But surprisingly, that didn't seem to slow down either driver. Max taking the Joker lane, so he picks up the bonus point. But what a drive from Mr. Dark here. He saw his opportunity and just gave it the beans and slipped in ahead of him right at the merger. What a beautiful bit of driving from Mr. Dark there.
And Mr. Dark needed those points. He picks up 6 points for the win, 6 checkpoints passed, so he didn't go through the Joker lane, but that is enough to take him into first place, and he will be moving on to the next round along with Meow Max. So I'll be interested to see how those guys go up against the previous drivers. And Mr. Dark setting a time there of 38.9120.
What a big event to kick off the new track. Lots of action, lots of crashes. Expect more of that in the future, and I'd like to see some tighter racing, and I'd love to see some more action through the Switcher Joker Lane merger area, because that was epic.
We've said all along this is going to be a tough track with the single lane sections, the multiple jumps and hazards, and how about this driving from Magnussen? What a brilliant move, and still my favourite drive of the night.
And as promised, this is a look at the practice run where the drivers were just getting used to the track. You see Jezza out in front here, Magnus Magnussen in behind, and Hordin Sung behind him. Jezza goes up and gets bounced up, rolls through the trees, and then gets turned around and drives down the track and drives straight into Magnussen, whose car just explodes going up the hill.
Luckily, his mechanic team worked all night to get the car back racing. Alright, that's enough from us tonight. Thanks very much for watching. I'm Tom Spanners Watson. He's Frank the Guru Gibbs. We look forward to seeing you next time.